Hello, Evil Corp. We are fsociety. Over the years, we've been watching you. Your financial abuse of the poor, your corruption of governments, your cover-ups of the murder of innocent, ordinary citizens, all for the sake of profit. This is why we at fsociety have decided you must die. We are malicious and hostile. We do not compromise. We are relentless. We will not stop until every tentacle of your evil monstrosity is sliced off at the nerve. But we are also not without mercy. Our latest hack was our last warning. Meet our demands and we will consider not destroying you. First, release our leader, Terry Colby, from your illegitimate prison immediately. Second, release all the people of the world from your even more illegitimate prisons of debt. Third, dissolve your corporation and donate all your assets to charities around the world. This proposal is non-negotiable. The people are realizing they don't have freedom of choice so long as you exist. The people are waking up, no longer accepting your economic slavery. Meet these demands or we will kill you. Consider yourself warned.
9 billion names of pod.
From Atlanta,
Headquarters of Equifax. Just saying.
it's the 9 billion names of pod. Dan Bowman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bowman.
I'm dealing with my dead father, too. He's just as talkative now as he was back then.
So, let's talk about some stuff.
Affirmative.
So, we're going to talk about a little bitty show. Spoiler alert, if you haven't already figured it out. That is on the USA Network, of all things, which I have a really couple of interesting questions about.
Yeah.
Called Mr. Robot.
Monsieur Roboto.
Yes. Domo arigato. So, how did you find this
Well,
show?
funny you should ask.
Yeah.
I was referred to this show by Monsignor Bernard Sotero Clark.
Ah.
He was
We know that
waxing rhapsodic about this, and as well as Rick and Morty, which we definitely have to get into.
Yeah, I need to catch up on that. Yeah.
There's layers upon layers to Rick and Morty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first 1 or 2 episodes had come out when he mentioned it. I said, all right, it's still fairly new. I'll check it out. And immediately hooked.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
what about yourself?
I just started watching it. You've been talking about it. So
Did I finally browbeat you into the show?
well, in a way, yeah, but in a good way. I was
Okay.
like, all right, I needed something to watch, and I was like, all right, let me get started on this, and it was on Amazon Prime, so I was like, oh, okay, cool, I can watch it on some downtime,
Right.
and watched the first episode and
Yeah.
really dug it, and watched the rest, and I've got some issues with this show.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, it's been, a couple of years since I watched the first season. The last season was done just a few months ago, but I will try to be your oracle as best as possible.
It's fine. It is a story of a guy named Elliot Alderson.
Right.
If you haven't seen it, and he is kind of a computer genius, but he's also very
Antisocial?
antisocial. He's a morphine addict, but he's smart about it.
Well,
and-
Suboxone. He's a what do you call it? A
self-medicator.
yeah, because he got issues.
Yes, he's definitely got some issues, and he's a hacker and all that kind of the total computer nerd thing, and he ends up meeting this guy on the train, or he keeps seeing this guy out in public, and played by Christian Slater.
Finally getting a role that's worthy of his talent.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense to Archer, because that was also worthy of his talent.
Right.
That was just voice work.
That was voice work,
Nothing
but-
wrong with voice work.
Yep.
Just good to see him do something that I like to think that Christian Slater's character, Mr. Robot, is what would have happened if his character in Heathers had stayed alive and
not a
grown
bad,
up.
not a bad theory.
Yeah, it's possible.
And Elliot, by the way, played by Rami Malek, and I think he is brilliant. I think he's
got the Emmy for season 1. I think
did he?
Pretty sure, yeah. Because we just finished season 2 not too long ago, and I don't
Right.
think we've had the Emmy since then. So, but he got at the very least he got a nomination. Pretty sure he got the
win.
The win, and. Directly related to something that I'm sure you're interested in. Guess what he has been announced as being cast as?
I heard that. Yes,
Freddie freaking Mercury.
Yep. It's been that whatever that Queen movie is going to end up being. It's been going through developmental hell with production company and the band.
Well,
and
the band wants it to be one thing. And Sacha Baron Cohen, who was originally going to be Freddie, which I thought was genius casting. Apparently, no, this isn't the feel-good movie of the century. We're going to delve deep into this character and, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, his failings, and his massive talent. And apparently the band wanted to go a little light on, and they knew Freddie best. So as much as I want to see Sacha Baron Cohen do that role, Brian May and I guess Taylor, Roger Taylor? Roger Taylor, Deacon just sits back and collects checks these days. And, hey.
Good for him. Yeah.
Hey, retire after 30 years. I mean, rock and roll and film and TV is the only job where people go, oh, you're not working? That's sad. Like, yeah. I'm 73. I retired 5 years ago.
I toured the world for 20 years.
Exactly. It's like, oh, that's so sad that you're not working. Like, what are you talking about? I'm retired. Is your dad still working at 75? Shut the fuck up. Anyway, so they knew Freddie better than anybody else probably on the planet.
Yeah.
At least,
absolutely.
At least anybody else that's going to be working on this Queen film. And they wanted to go that way. I'm like, okay, I hope you're not trying to whitewash. And
I think it needs a good balance. I think we do need to see the real person and the some of the warts, but I don't want to tear him down either. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. I think kind of a balanced approach. But we're getting off topic here. Now we've got Rami Malek, who's got the chops, and he could probably pull the look off.
He almost looks more like him than Sacha Baron Cohen.
I'd give the edge to Cohen, but I see what you mean. I see what you mean. He can definitely do it.
Yeah.
And let's face it. I mean, Freddie Mercury is a goddamn legend. I put him up over Jim Morrison or tons of the Cobain and all these other people that I mean, great talents and everything. But Freddie was
larger than life.
And Freddie as hell.
And not for nothing, but the role of Freddie Mercury could not be any farther away from the role of Elliot Alderson as possible. Like Alderson is like the tight
as
introvert,
wound up as possible,
and Freddie Mercury was, let's say, not.
I don't want to say flamboyant, but I'm going to go ahead and say flamboyant.
Yeah.
So and good for him.
Good for him.
I look at him as an early. I don't want to say leader, someone who broke down some stereotypes about gay and bisexual people, because he was up there. He was a man doing his flamboyant stuff on stage, and straight white guys were going, "You rock, Freddie!" Like, yeah, it's about the music, it's about the talent. It's not about the fact that maybe it's a little not typical, I'm a rock god.
Yeah.
It's not everyone could be Robert Plant. Sometimes you have to be Freddie Mercury.
Right.
So
anyway, back to Mr. Robot.
We don't do tangents on this podcast ever. That was
this
the first
whole podcast is a tangent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are we gonna wake up and like it was all a dream?
It was all a dream.
Anyway, all right, Elliot,
and he starts seeing the Christian Slater.
Right.
And he's wearing a jacket that says Mr. Robot on it. And he starts following him. They lead off into a bunch of things. Now, how in depth do you want to get with breaking it down?
Oh, let's go there.
Okay,
let's go there, because like I said, my recall of something I saw. I just saw Rogue One last night, and I'm still trying to figure out. So but
yes, a review of that is coming. But
yes,
but
we're definitely probably a two-parter.
Yeah,
two-parter
with
round table. with all the fixins.
With all the fixins. So
Yeah.
because we got to tear that thing down. But so he meets him on the subway, and he basically takes him to Coney Island, to a little abandoned arcade, and starts telling him about all these plans that he has.
What's the name of that arcade, Dan?
It would be the Fun Society.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, or at least it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be. Let's put a pin in that. Please continue.
Yeah, and there are your basic hacker characters, all of who I really liked. I liked the casting of all of them. There was Mobley, the big heavyset dude, beard, the big nerdy guy. There was Trenton, who looked like a I want to say Iranian Muslim. I know she's Muslim. I want to say she's Middle Eastern for sure.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Full on hijab. I think she's Iranian. I think she said that in the thing.
Yeah.
There was Romero, the grizzled old African American dude, and there is Darlene.
Darlene.
The what would you call her? Emo goth kind of fuck you world.
She's like obviously in her 20s, but she still has that fuck you teenage girl vibe going. That just says, whatever.
Right.
But not quite that in
the punk with a punk rock middle finger.
Exactly. She basically walks around with a middle finger and might lower it occasionally to do some hacking,
to
have
punch
some
you in the
sex.
face.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if I punch you with my middle finger out, it's really going to hurt my
really
middle finger.
Yeah.
So I'm going to curl that sucker up. But
and Mr. Robot starts going off on his plans and how Elliot is a big part of them. And Elliot works for a company called AllSafe. He's basically a reverse engineer hacker. He's a cybersecurity guy.
he's the white hat.
He's the white hat, yeah.
And for those who don't know, basically what AllSafe does is establish and maintain security for larger outside corporations. They will go in and try to hack things and try to close up vulnerabilities. And
their biggest client is a company called E-Corp.
E-Corp,
which is in this world is the largest conglomerate in human history. They say
it's like if you took Disney, Microsoft,
and Big Brother,
Exxon, and
Sony and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and just kind of put them all together. They got their tendrils and everything.
Yep,
they're grabbing everything.
And in Elliot's mind, he always sees and hears them as Evil Corp.
Right. We very rarely see the E-Corp logo. It's always Evil Corp when being seen through Elliot's eyes.
Right. And he gets called in one night. He works with a childhood friend of his named Angela.
Yes.
Angela. Interesting.
I cannot figure that woman out.
Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there. All right.
And Angela calls him in one night because there's a breach at one of their servers, and he kind of takes over, and he's the only guy to get it. And then him and his boss have to fly to like Dallas or something to dive in and like. It's one of those not montages, but one of those like high anxiety, super hacker scenes where he's got to get into the server, and there's the one server that's compromised.
They're almost in.
And he finally gets him out, he locks him out, and saves the day. And he finds a message in the server that basically says, "Come meet me." Actually, that might have happened before. No, that happened before. He goes to Fun Society. That does, because that's what leads him to go to Fun Society, I think.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think it was. It was one of those things. Either he went and then said "fuck you" and left in that thing, or I think it was. I think he saved. The hack was basically a test to get him on board, and Mr. Robot has this grand plan of basically taking E-Corp out and removing all the debt.
That is the key thing. The debt.
Like wiping everybody in the world who's got a debt with E-Corp and everywhere, wiping their zeroing out their balances.
Well, not zeroing out, just we don't know what your balance is. Is it $100,000? Is it zero?
Right.
If you have no records of anything.
Yep.
But that proves to be somewhat interesting because, it's not like they keep it on a server, and if that server dies, you have a free house.
Right.
There's backups. There's paper records. There's things that need to be done. Continue.
And so that becomes the mission of what is known as fsociety.
Yep.
And they're basically, what is the group, Anonymous, in the real world, who does the videos with the Guy Fawkes mask and all
Anonymous, basically the group that threatened Trump during the election and then proceeded to fuck off and do nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm sorry, Anonymous. I didn't mean to say that. Don't hurt me.
Yeah, we're on your side.
I mean, definitely. It's like fucking with Trump. Great. Maybe now, fuck with Trump while he's in office, but don't hurt America in the process.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Well, fsociety is basically a shadow of that, basically. And
well, now keep in mind, there's also another group out there, which we'll get to.
We'll get to them. We'll get to them as well.
Yeah.
But fsociety, they do same kind of grainy video, threats, and this is what we're going to do, and they out people and all that. And it's their mascot is basically a tuxedo and a plastic mask that, unlike the Guy Fawkes mask, is the mask of what looks like
a crappy 80s horror film.
Well, it looks like Mr. Monopoly is what it looks like.
Yes, he bears a striking resemblance to just
Mr. Monopoly.
Strike the monocle, and you're pretty much there.
Right, and that's what it was. It turns out that later on in the thing, you find out that it's the mask. It was the killer in an 80s horror movie that they would watch, and it's, I forget what it was, Confessions of the Bourgeoisie Killer or something, and something like that, where he would kill rich people.
And the thing that I really like is that when they did their videos, they did them on VHS.
Yes.
And then encoded them.
Yes.
Hey, guess what that prevents? All that careful NSA digital watermarking where they can go, oh, look, we opened up that sub-file on your video and go, look, it was recorded right here on this state with this camera that was bought at this store. They did it VHS style.
And then uploaded it to Vimeo, as a matter of fact.
Yep. So
public domain, I guess.
Well, I think Vimeo is kind of like a little more corporatized YouTube.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the major labels will put their videos on YouTube through Vimeo.
That's true.
It's like an outsourcing thing. Like here's the videos, you manage our copyrights and stuff like that, and keep everyone on the up and up.
So
doesn't stop me from downloading the videos that I want on my computer.
He didn't say that.
I did.
NSA. But anyway, that is the gist of what they're planning to do, and they go on many adventures, and the plan is to go upstate and hack into the climate control of the server building and lead on your spy thing. Some
of this stuff you can't do remotely. Unlike the rancid Cheeto, it's not some 400-pound guy on his bed with a laptop. Some of this stuff you actually got to get off your fat ass and get into the world and do some shit.
Right.
And they do some shit.
Yep. There's also another character we meet who is jockeying for a larger position at Evil Corp.
Oh, yes.
In Terrell Wellick, who...
what a great name.
Yeah.
It just sounds like an evil person right off the bat.
Yeah, it definitely has the big bad kind of guy vibe. I want to say he's Dutch, something like that, because of him and his wife, who is very interesting as well.
I believe he is Dutch. The actor's name is Martin Wallstrom.
And
which either he's Swedish, Dutch, something like that.
Mm-hmm. So, and they speak
from Dutchland.
From Dutchland,
yeah,
yes.
Because that's a thing.
Wait, Holland is the Netherlands? Then who would have Dutch?
What? What the hell? There's a dike somewhere? I don't know.
But, him and his wife, they speak Dutch. I believe it's Dutch to each other most of the time. And his wife is, your supermodel type who is very interesting. That's the thing about this show. There's some... Okay, not to get off topic, but not to get away from the story of the show. You watched this on USA, correct?
Correct.
How do they deal with the language?
Subtitles.
No, I'm not talking about the Dutch. I'm talking about the filthy, foul language.
There's no beeping that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did they drop it out? Or because there's some, a lot of F-bombs and C-bombs. And
I believe there, these days, since Mr. Robot, I think it airs after 10 o'clock, you legally can use an F-bomb, but very limitedly. I believe they just drop it out.
Okay.
Because
because on Amazon, they left everything in.
Of course.
Everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I'll go on record. I understand there's standards, there's practices. Let them say their F-bomb and just drop the audio out if you have to. Don't bleep it and then release DVDs later on that has bleeped out,
And don't compromise on the writing too. Don't write like how people wouldn't talk. People don't say frickin' and stuff like that. Oh
gosh, yes.
That can get so aggravating.
Well, sometimes it's very interesting. I like watching films that I know by heart on television. Just to see how bad the overdubbing is, especially on films prior to the mid-90s, because they did not shoot them thinking about
television.
The television. Not sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't, and some of those overdubs are just atrocious. It's like, I just got a guy in here and said, "All right, whatever, frig." And there's no match.
Yeah.
They didn't even try to match it. I'm like, so, yes.
I've said before, I've said this story before, but Kevin Smith always says that he thinks the television version of Mallrats is actually funnier than his movie because of the bad dubbing, and Jason Mewes just didn't show up to the session.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because he was strung out or whatever, so they just got some random actor.
Exactly. No, I fully support, if the story demands that you say the F-bomb 14 times in a row or show boobs or whatever, do it. And do whatever you need to do to get it on the air. Blur it out, drop out the audio.
Yeah.
But then, because that's a one-time viewing thing for people, what's going to be left for posterity is what is out on the streaming services, what is out on DVD and Blu-ray,
right,
and a brain implant, whatever the fuck's coming next. And I want the artist's complete vision, not the, we don't want to see a left butt cheek. You thrust too many times, so we're going to edit. Like,
and it makes it seem more legitimate. Like I said, that's how people talk.
Yeah.
And people are into some freaky shit, especially that dude's wife.
Hey, when Peggy on Mad Men said, fuck that bitch or something like that, I was like, I'm watching this on TV. It's AMC. She just said F.
Yeah.
She just said fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, because normally there are times when I watch something and in retrospect afterwards, like, hey, did that character say, they said fuck? Huh. Because, you don't expect to hear that. But it's how people talk, and God knows it's how I talk. So you don't notice it until after, like, how did they get that through? Apparently, you get like one a season on AMC,
I guess.
So use it well.
Yep. And on USA, I don't know how many they got on the air, but they use a lot in the show, and it's really it's really good for that on to watch it on like Amazon or something.
Yeah.
Even though we want to keep watching it on USA to keep it on the air, but
we want the ratings and the Anyway,
so where were we? So
we started talking about Tyrell Wellick and his hot but
way messed up wife.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, she in the first season she is pregnant and into bondage and choking sex, evidently.
Yep. And you know what? Hey. It's only notable in the fact that that's not portrayed on broadcast.
Yeah.
Or this isn't really broadcast.
Yeah,
this
people
is
do
cable.
weird shit all the time.
Exactly.
But
you know what?
to see it on television is just so unique.
You know what? I go by the Frank Zappa thing from Jazz Discharge Party Hats. Whatever it takes for you to get off is fine with me as long as it doesn't cause a murder.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
That's it. Two consensual adults. If you want to choke each other out and that's the way you roll, then go for it.
Yeah, if that's what it takes.
And and having that depicted on television, I think is wonderful.
Yeah,
because it makes sense. I will say that every television, and we have to give all praise. Sam Esmail, that's the guy that created this.
Yeah,
that's his style of writing. I can't quite put it into words, but usually when somebody's writing style is established over a number of episodes, or in some cases a number of films, there's a feel, a vibe that I get from it, where I could hear, I mean, the most obvious example of that is listen to 20 seconds of any Quentin Tarantino script.
Yes.
And you'll go, oh, that's Tarantino.
Yeah.
Now that's obvious because, you know, he writes in very exaggerated, it's Tarantino.
Yeah, it's Tarantino. It's very stylistic.
With Sam, I can't get a beat on this guy.
Okay.
And that's a compliment. That's definitely a compliment, because once you figure out a writer and go, yep, there's that. All right, they're about to do that. Then it eliminates some of your enjoyment of the show. With this guy, I mean, we'll get to it, but the Alf episode,
yeah,
holy,
yeah.
I could not have been more pleased about that, because that's exactly the kind of shit that I enjoy.
Well, speaking of his writing, what really struck me about the show was more so the direction, because there are a lot of scenes where it's shot very interestingly,
very 70s, very open, and very, I want to say, just a touch Scorsese-y.
Okay. Wherein things like the protagonist, or the focal point of the scene, of the frame, I should say, will be in the lower right-hand corner, and you'll only see like the end of their shoulder and the top of their head, and they'll be doing a scene, and the rest of the frame is the wall behind them in the painting, or that half of the room, and it's visually striking. It is so interesting and stylistic. It's very cool the way they do that.
And I'm going to let you in on something if you don't already know. That's also Sam.
I figured as much,
because he directed most of the episodes of season 1. I want to say probably 5 to 6. So the majority, we'll say the majority. But in season 2, he directed every single one of them.
Okay.
And he wrote most of them by himself.
Yeah.
That is unprecedented. You're the creator, the showrunner, and you direct, and you write. Holy crap.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why we're not going to get Westworld again, another show that you got to get on, until 2018, because they want to be able to plot out and work on story while they're not producing the episodes.
As you should be.
As you should be, but that's often not the case. They'll have like the first 3 written, they'll start production and start writing the back 7 or back 5 or whatever the hell it is while they're in production. And man, I mean, I don't know about you, but I could hardly get to writing when it's a quiet room and I have nothing to do and I'm ready to go. When there's 9,000 other things on episode 2 you got to worry about, trying to write it's and this is another thing, like you said, the BBC model, where they do it all and then present it to you. This is how you do it. You work on writing the episodes, and then you film that. You don't try to cram it in there. It's like, but people will lose interest after, if it's been more than 9 months since the last. Oh, yeah, when has that ever happened?
Yeah.
Not very often. If the
Doctor
show
Who
is well established... People are dying for it. Remember when people were just crying about, Sopranos? You had to wait like 12, 13 months to get new Sopranos. And they had the best ratings of the series after that. They broke up the last season of Breaking Bad. And I was one of the people crying, but there was no way I was going to say, well, damn it, I'm not going to watch anymore.
No,
hell no.
Not.
That's like holding that junky fix out a little further.
Yeah.
You know you're going to get it, but you got to wait for it.
And like I said, Doctor Who's been on for 50 years, and they're taking a year off break.
We're getting our Christmas episode,
and
then who knows when the next. But anyway. So I just want to just bow down to Sam Esmail, because he's running the show. He's writing the majority of it. And, of course, always based on his Bible, I am sure. and directing, at least in season 2, every single episode. Networks don't usually let showrunners do that.
Right.
So,
well, if you get a couple Emmys after your first season, if not nominations,
well, sometimes that doesn't even keep you on the air, Arrested Development. So, but then again, thank God Mr. Robot isn't on Fox, because it already would have been canceled because it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
And I will say I did look at the ratings for season 2, dramatically down.
Really,
from season 1, yeah, yeah. Because I hate to say it, Americans are kind of fucking stupid. Short attention span. They wanted spoon. I'm sorry. I got to go there. A lot of times, the complex storytelling that people like Sam Esmail do.
Let's put it this way: there's just a smaller audience for that kind of storytelling. Unfortunately,
yeah, and that's because the majority of Americans are fucking stupid and lazy and barely rise above. I'll be generous, a 10th grade education, more like 8th. I mean, look at our president-elect. Mm-hmm. He has about a 220-word vocabulary. Anyway. Tangent. So, Tyra Wellick and his super sexy, pregnant, sadomaso... Well, no, not bondage and discipline.
Yeah, BDSM.
Weird wife.
Right. And he has many aspirations, like I said.
Oh, yes. He starts off as the senior vice president of technology for E Corp.
And he's gunning for, what is it, CEO?
I believe, yes, the CEO.
Of technology.
Philip Price is the character that is the CEO of E Corp.
Yes. That's right.
But he gets pinned and is gone. And
no, that's Terry Colby gets pinned and gone.
Is that the one from Allstate? All Safe?
All Safe, yeah. No, that's Gideon Goddard. Terry Colby is the one that fsociety pins everything on and get him out of the way. He's like one of the big bads, and he's the one who was in charge of. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit.
Yes.
Evidently, whenever it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yes.
One of Terry Colby and Philip Price and some of those people at E Corp, they had a plant in Washington Township, New Jersey.
Right.
And there was, I want to say, hazardous material or shoddy safety or something. There was something going on.
I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I want to say it had something to do with like chemical poisoning or something with exposure
basically
that, yeah.
And a lot of the employees became ill and some of them died, and we find out later that Angela's mother and Elliot's father worked at E Corp, worked at the Washington Township plant, and both got exposed, both got sick, and both died. And Elliot, what? Yes.
Angela's father's alive.
Angela's mother died.
Right.
Yeah.
You said the father died too.
Elliot's father.
Oh, Elliot. Oh,
yeah, Elliot's father. He died, and he was raised by his mother, and Angela was raised by their father, and they grew up together. Right. And Terry Colby and Philip Price were, they got off scot-free with, high-priced lawyers, and there was no,
that never happened.
Right. Basic corporate whitewashing and fuck them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so fsociety targets Terry Colby and pins a whole bunch of shit on him and gets him out of the way, which leads an opening at E Corp for Tyrell Wellick to go in for the CEO of technology. And it turns out he don't get it.
He does not get it.
He does not get it, and this very much displeases his wife. And you get to see that she is...
she's kind of pulling the strings.
She is very much so pulling the strings. She's kind of the mastermind behind the whole thing. And
well, her ambitions for her husband are greater probably than her husband, than Wellick's himself.
Yes, she wants to live in a certain lifestyle, but
there's something else going on there.
There's definitely something else going on.
I mean, there's something else going on there.
Yeah,
but anyway,
and so we find out that okay, jumping ahead, we get to
now. Do you remember one of the first things, for lack of a better term, that we find out about Elliot?
Things. Well, we.
How do we know that he's a good guy or a bad guy?
Well, he's a hacker, like I said, and he hacks pretty much everybody.
Right.
And he has, he goes to a psychologist. He goes and has therapy sessions.
Even before that.
Oh, even before that.
First episode.
With
the guy that was cheating.
Yeah, who was dating his
No,
therapist.
this is before that.
Oh, okay.
This is before that.
Mm-hmm.
And they establish right away that, okay, so he's a hacker, but he's also using it for, lack of a better term, good.
Yes.
And his psychiatrist that he goes to, he gets way deep into her life.
He basically hacks everybody he meets because he doesn't know how to connect to people.
Right. He finds out, it's like, okay, if I know this, this, and this, and this, when we're in person, I have something to say, or I know where not to go, or I just know something. He's unsettled around people.
Yeah.
In his sister, even most of the time.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
When he can remember that.
We're almost there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But what he does to Gloria Rubin, who plays his psychiatrist, Krista Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God there's no alliteration in this show. I would not have been would have approved of that.
Mm-hmm.
You get the feeling that he's got a good heart, but he just doesn't know
when to stop
and or when not to start. It's kind of like he wants to do good and he sees this as the way to go and doesn't know about the social, I don't want to say social cues, it's just social norms. It's like, yeah, thanks for exposing my cheating boyfriend, but you basically just digitally raped my life.
Exactly.
To do it. So creepy.
Yes.
So, and that sets up his character very, very well from the first episode and later on with the psychiatrist. So you know that he's a good guy. He doesn't relate to people. He's got a bit of a drug problem.
Yep.
But he doesn't fall into that stereotypical reefer madness thing like, I took a drug. My life is terrible. No.
He's lonely. And
there are millions of very well-maintaining drug addicts and alcoholics out there that if you didn't spend, a ton of time with them, you never would know that they were addicted to anything.
Right.
I've had people in my life that I found out like, what? Yeah, I was drunk most of the time back then. I was like, I never knew. Like, yeah, I was pretty good. Mm. So it's just one of those little things that Sam put into his character that fleshed him out that I really appreciated.
Yep.
So anyway, let's talk about Angela a little bit.
Okay.
Childhood friends.
Friends.
Works at Allsafe. Mm-hmm. You kind of get the feeling there's always been a little between the two of them, but
they've been friends too long to really
exactly. It's
it.
like we've known each other for so long. If we start something now, it'll be weird.
Yep.
And she starts dating Ollie Parker.
Yes.
Good old Ollie.
Yes.
Good gosh. I do have I can't take anybody serious with a name like Ollie. Sorry,
yeah, you're not
can't.
Really supposed to.
I mean, even John Oliver, it's like, all right, it's your last name. It's not quite all right.
He's, for a computer guy, he's kind of a meathead.
Yeah, he's kind of a dumbass meathead, and she is far too devious and far too fucked up to be with someone like that.
Yeah,
and she uses him very nicely.
Yeah, she's she's definitely, like you said, she looks on the surface, she's a beautiful girl. She looks like she's got everything together, but she's way damaged. Way damaged.
And she was harmed by E Corp as well.
Exactly.
She's party to a lawsuit.
Yep.
That she's been fighting, and her father's been fighting, and in the wake of all the things that won't go down at Allsafe, the company is basically quote unquote scapegoated for, and rightfully so, because they're the ones that let it happen. Unbeknownst to them, because she put the disc in her boyfriend's computer.
Yeah, they're walking around outside one day, and there was a hustler out there giving away CDs, and Ollie, buys one and keeps trying to rip it into his computer and gets hacked.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
It's like, I think everyone by now knows, and I'm still getting these. I got one today. It says, "Hey, check this out." And then it's a zip file.
Yeah.
No. I wouldn't even open a zip file from you.
Yeah.
Because you might have been hacked. Yeah. I don't open executable files ever.
Yeah. If I need something, if I do have to send something like that to somebody, I will go into great depth to make sure they know that it is actually me.
Yeah.
And then send them a text message. Hey, I sent you a file, open it.
Right. And of course, anything you put into your computer runs the risk of it. Even a peripheral, you may get hacked from the new cool USB drive, or the new hub, or the new printer. You plug that into your computer, and sure, it prints and everything. But what you may not know is that it's going into your computer and opening up a port and letting people use your computer as a bot or to whatever. So
basically, he puts the disk in his home computer, and all of his and all of Angela's life gets hacked, and they get ransomed. Basically, they get blackmailed.
Because what was he doing, Dan?
He was cheating.
Oh yeah,
he was a cheater,
and there was film of it.
And there was evidently pictures of her and all of her bank records and all of.
It's Mr. Robot is like one big episode of Black Mirror that just gets more and more fucked up.
Yeah,
every episode,
I would be curious to talk to some actual computer guys and see how relatively accurate some of what they do is,
having no expertise in the old hacking department, there was nothing in there that I went, come on, that can't happen.
Right.
Now, obviously, an actual hacker or computer IT person would be more knowledgeable on that topic. But there was no okay, I see we had to make this magic thing happen to keep the story going, even though, no, it all seems pretty darn, kind of like with Black Mirror. Some of that technology isn't quite there yet, but it's on the horizon, so you can relate to it oh, that might not happen to me, but that might happen to my kids, or that'll happen to me when I'm in my 60s or something, because that technology is about ready to happen. And in Mr. Robot, nothing in there made me go, oh, come on, that's not real.
Yeah.
Everything is that seems very real to me.
Plausible, at least.
Absolutely.
At the very least.
Absolutely.
And so basically, he gets a letter saying, we're going to expose you or release everything unless you put this disk into Allsafe's network and your computer at work.
Yep.
So he was definitely targeted.
Yep.
And he doesn't want to do it. And he doesn't do it.
No, he doesn't. Angela does it.
Because she's, like we said, kind of fucked up, and she did it out of self-preservation. And she does find out that he's a cheater, and she kicks his ass out.
Of course.
But
guys, just you know what? Just dump her and then go sleep with someone else if you have to do it. Just don't cheat, for the love of God.
It's just,
And there goes the plot points of 10,000 stories where it's how do we blackmail him? He's a cheater. No, guys don't cheat anymore. Damn. Talk about a dystopian future.
Yeah,
that'll
never happen, unfortunately.
Have they lost their genitalia in the future? No, they still have it? Then that's definitely fiction. That's bullshit.
So Angela ends up doing it, which starts a whole chain reaction spiraling of her own kind of I don't even know how to describe it. Her whole storyline changes and starts going.
And where does she end up?
She ends up. She speaks to it was either her father or she's speaking to her lawyer, and they said, "Look, there's no way to, that this lawsuit's going to go forward unless we can get a whistleblower in here and someone who works there to turn out." So she ends up getting a job at E Corp.
By the
end of the season.
I'm sorry, what's the name of that company?
Evil Corp.
There you go.
And I think what you're supposed to think is that she's turned to the dark side and she's going to take the money and run. But I think it's revealed later that she has decided to try to take him down from the inside. But she's fucked up Angela, so she's kind of getting wrapped up in shit as well.
She's helping fsociety out.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
back to fsociety.
Yes, let's go back there.
Well, I think it's time we gotta get to the meat of the thing.
Are we gonna get to the meat of the thing?
Yeah, because here's where my problems start.
Okay, we've set the table.
Okay.
Let's dig in.
There's a scene where
not the board. Is it the boardwalk?
The
scene?
boardwalk.
I knew you were going to go there.
Here's the boardwalk scene.
Okay,
and that's not the problem I have. Okay. So moving on.
All right.
There's a scene where they've gone through a whole bunch of shit and they've hacked a bunch of stuff and they execute the hack basically with the help of let's spin off 1 second.
Well, now you're at the very end of the first season.
Very end of the first season.
All right.
The fsociety's big plan wasn't going to work because, as you said, it's not just one building; it's many buildings all over the world. They are in cahoots with a group known as the Dark Army.
The Dark Army,
which is basically more or less the Chinese government in a way.
Well, that hasn't been established yet. Whether the character of Zhang, also White Rose.
White Rose is the leader of the Dark Army.
Yes.
White Rose is also
transgender.
And the
Chinese
ambassador.
Well, no, she's he depending is the Minister of State Security for the Chi-Coms.
Yes, the male version, and when he's White Rose, he's a she.
That basically in all the activities involving the Dark Army, it's White Rose, and a clock. I have allotted exactly 13 minutes for this conversation.
Right.
And I'm walking as soon as,
And she does.
And that's it. And
it's a fascinating character.
I like Sam's writing. Yep. I can't get a beat on it, which is probably why I like it so much.
And
because I cannot predict it.
Huge ups to B.D. Wong, who plays White Rose.
That guy is due for some serious mid to late career love, because he's been doing the Law and Order thing and the bit parts here and there.
Well, he started on Broadway. He's a Broadway guy,
right? Well, he's due for some high freaking acclaim. Yeah. He's due for some Neil Patrick Harris level of acclaim.
Absolutely.
Where it's like, I know about him, but who cares? Oh, he's doing that. Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah,
that kind of acclaim.
And this pretty good.
It's unsettling though.
Yeah,
it's unsettling.
Very sinister, but very together.
Yes. So back to what you were saying.
So
Dark Army.
So the giant hack that they're going to do to take down E Corp, they do it. They get it through with the help of the Dark Army. It's kind of fuzzy on how it goes down.
Right.
But there's a scene on the boardwalk, and it is Darlene, the emo girl, and Elliot, and she's basically, like, wow, I can't believe all the stuff we've done, and you're so great, and I can't believe how much I love you, and this and that, and he kind of gets the look in his eye, and he leans in to kiss her.
Yep.
And that's when shit goes sideways, because she freaks out.
Gee, Dan, why does she freak out?
Because she says to Elliot, "Did you forget again?"
Forget what?
And he says, what do you mean? And you see the wheels spinning in his head, and he says, you're my sister.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Turns out he has a sister, Darlene, who he randomly seems to forget about. As we said, Elliot's got some issues.
Oh, he's got the issues.
Yes. And the even bigger reveal is that Mr. Robot, who has been running the whole organization, and again, played by Christian Slater, and who has been pulling the strings, and who has been masterminding the whole thing and calling the shots, turns out he doesn't exist.
Nope. Everyone got sixth sensed.
Yeah.
We got Fight Clubbed.
That's my whole problem with the whole thing, is that we've been here before. We've seen this. This is A Beautiful Mind. This is Fight Club. And
okay. And you have a problem with that.
Yeah, because
it's a trope.
It is, and that's the problem with it. It was such a great idea in Fight Club. It just kind of bugs me.
What, do you think it was brand new in Fight Club?
Probably not, but it was popularized. It was the big thing.
We've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing new under the sun.
I agree.
It's very rare.
I agree.
I'm perfectly fine with somebody pulling a trope out of something else and building a completely different thing around it. Now, yes, I understand.
But it's not completely different.
Because it turns out the goals of Tyler Durden and F-Society are rather similar.
Well, it's not even that. It's that in Fight Club, as you remember, it turns out that Edward Norton is actually Tyler Durden.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Elliot is actually Mr. Robot. And that kind of bugs me. I
have no problem with it whatsoever.
Okay,
because
fine.
it's a storytelling device, much like let's just say a misunderstanding is at the core of every goddamn episode of Three's Company.
Yes, but it would be the exact same misunderstanding every time. You know, I don't know. It kind of soured it for me.
I think Jack Tripper was bi. But that's neither nya or nya.
No. I was never soured on Three's Company.
Well, Sam Esmail has totally copped that Mr. Robot is an homage. It has major influences provided by American Psycho.
Yeah.
Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The Matrix, and, of course, Fight Club.
Right.
One of the first things that I found that I loved about that series was the title credits. The way they handle it. Mm-hmm. You know, Mr. Robot with the thing down. It screams like a film from 1974.
Yeah, even the font. It's like
exactly
80s computer Battlestar Galactica.
Right. It just has. It gives you. It sets a tone. It sets a feel, and it's no coincidence that Taxi Driver, Clockwork Orange are of that period. Mm-hmm. So I have no problem with somebody taking an amalgam of a bunch of tropes, maybe stereotypes, and putting them in their writerly blender and spitting out something that, that is kind of similar, but this. So I'm okay with it. Now, I believe it was the first episode of season 2 after where they actually go back and show you some of the scenes where you were thinking, no, of course Mr. Robot has to be real because, and they showed what Elliot was doing through your eyes, not through his eyes. And you went, oh, he just jumped off that railing. Mr. Robot didn't push him off. He just jumped.
So here's the big problem I have with season 2. Okay. I'm all for the unreliable narrator. I get that. that style.
Also an old trope.
Absolutely, and I get that.
Okay.
But I feel like this is the untrustworthy narrator, because now you don't know what's going on at all, and in a way that bothers me, because it seems like nothing is what it seems, but it doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason to me.
Just because you're in a boat on the sea and you can't see land doesn't mean the current ain't going to take you to someplace down the road.
I agree, but if you're in a boat on the ocean, that doesn't mean you know, for on a whim you're now in a plane for real. That we'll never know. And you know, there was the whole subplot with because I was like kind of getting the Fight Club vibe through season 1. I was like, I think that's what this is going to be. So I started watching really, really close, and there were times when Mr. Robot was interacting with people, with Elliot, and it was like,
but what we didn't know, and you didn't know at the time, was that people were interacting with Mr. Robot, but it was Elliot.
Right.
Because apparently Elliot goes to sleep. A couple of minutes later, Mr. Robot wakes up and goes, "Okay, Elliot's asleep. Let's go get some shit done."
Elliot for a walk.
And that's why he starts taking the drugs to keep him up, so that he can't, you know, so he's in full control. But the side effect of that is then when you crash, and you will crash, Mr. Robot has absolute control because you are out for a long time.
Right. And in season 2, Elliot has decided to go and live with his mother.
Yes.
And have to stay on routine because he's trying to keep Mr. Robot at bay.
Stay away from computers.
He understands that Mr. Robot is in his head, and he understands that he makes him do stuff. So he figures if he stays on routine, and every morning he gets up and he makes his bed, and then he goes has breakfast with his buddy Leon, and then they go and watch the basketball game, and Leon talks about, and then he goes home at night, and his mother tucks him in and locks the door, and he goes to bed, and he writes in his journal, and he does this every day because he's trying to stay on routine, and he's trying to stay on
routine. And he diminishes Mr. Robot to some degree, but not completely.
No, the first couple of times they show it, Mr. Robot shoots him in the head and kills him over and over and over again.
Right.
Which
kind of like Doctor Strange. Hey, I'm here. I'm here.
I want to talk.
Now, you mentioned the basketball game. Mm-hmm. Who does he meet at that basketball game?
He meets Craig Robinson.
Yes. I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say Ray. His name is Ray.
Yeah.
And apparently his reputation of being a computer guy is known to some degree. And he enlists him to work on his, we're going to call it
website,
a Silk Road type Tor Onion browser site. For those who don't know, there are certain browsers that will take you to a place on the web that you can't get to with your regular Safari, with your regular, it's where, you know, hey, you want a pound of Coke shipped to you from Thailand, or you want to...
Basically whatever.
Exactly.
Weapons.
And... People, and it's like, hey, you know, if you want some drugs, knock yourself out. But some of this is, hey, do you want, you know, 8-year-old child rape videos? We got them.
Yeah,
and that's where you just sit there and you just cringe.
Yeah, and it's all out there.
And that's the thing. It's, you know, this guy facilitates and runs this site and deals with just some of the normal stuff. Oh yeah, I could use that, and then other stuff where you're like, oh my god, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And people are buying it. I hate humans.
Yeah.
And you know they're all white American males too.
Right.
Bastards.
Yeah.
And he has a little talk. And originally, Elliot goes, "No, I'm not. No, I'm."
Well, Ray just says, "I need you to move my website from one portal to another, and don't look too deep into it."
Right.
And so you already know.
But he initially says, "No, I'm not." You know, because he's on the path.
Yeah.
You know, anything around a computer, all of a sudden, Mr. Robot is empowered.
So he's going to stay away from that,
right.
And he goes to church meetings, evidently.
Right. But he eventually does it, and he looks. And
Basically, Mr. Robot tells him to look, or I forget what it is.
I think Mr. Robot's like, what are you doing here with this shit? We got to be hacking, this is
E-Corp.
crap.
Yeah, we got it.
And, don't do it. And he
looks.
He looks, and he actually sets him up to get busted.
Yep.
Ray finds out about the looking before the busting.
Oh, yeah.
And
guess what happens?
Beats him within, or has him beaten within an inch of his life.
Right.
So much so that we get to one of my favorite episodes.
Well, it beats him within an inch of his life, but takes him to the hospital.
Right.
Yep. And weirdest episode ever. Brilliantly done.
Oh, yes. I don't know. Essentially, definite shades of Too Many Cooks there for a second.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are they doing? Essentially,
Shot in, 4x3?
yeah,
Videotape.
Shot to videotape, 4x3, 80s style.
80s style.
And eventually, Elliot ends up in kind of sitcom land, where his dad's alive, and mom, and sister.
Mm-hmm. And they do, the thing I appreciated most about it was they did the actual credits, like the Mr. Robot credits.
Oh, yeah.
At, like Rami Malek and
Oh,
Carl
yeah,
Sagan.
they did the whole thing.
Yep.
Except there's one extra character. Alf. Actually Alf.
Yeah.
The puppet with, if not the original voice guy.
Yeah, Paul Fusco, yeah. It
Was it the
It was
original?
him, yeah. It was absolutely him.
It made me go, ha!
Yeah.
And I thought, this will be fun for a minute. They kept it going.
Yeah, it went for about 20 minutes.
A good 20 minutes.
And it got darker and darker.
Yeah.
The other extra character was, quote unquote, the man in the trunk.
Wonder who that could be.
Yeah.
Could it be perhaps a Tyrol?
Could be.
Because at this point, at the end of season 1, he doesn't know what happened to, was it, I can't remember, Wellick.
Yeah.
Tyrol Wellick. And he doesn't know.
Well, basically, they went back to F-Society, the Fun Society.
Right.
And Elliot and Wellick go to F-Society, and then Elliot kind of blanks out.
Right, because Mr. Robot takes over, and that's how
that's how the
hack happens. Because Elliot's like, no,
he doesn't remember any of it.
He doesn't want to do this, and all of a sudden, Mr. Robot pops in, and apparently, Mr. Robot knows what happened to him.
Right,
but Elliot doesn't, and he keeps trying to find out.
Yep,
and that shows up in his hallucination.
Yep.
We get to the end of it, and we find Elliot actually thanking Mr. Robot because he put him in this quote-unquote sitcom to preserve his mind, to help him through this brutal beating and hospitalization that he's been going through. And at that episode, I just fell in love with this show 10 times more.
Okay.
Because that's that kind of left turn where you're like, what the? I love this, but what? And then you find out, and one of the things that I constantly do whenever I'm watching anything, and it's a horrible habit, I'm always trying to look one scene ahead, 2 scenes ahead, the end game. Like, all right, I see this coming. And shows where I'm wrong all across the board on that, I love it.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. That's why,
even if it's using some previously used tropes, it takes me to a new place. Mm-hmm. That's how James Cameron stole two episodes of The Outer Limits from Harlan Ellison and created Terminator.
Yeah.
If he had just asked permission, Harlan probably would have said, sure, knock yourself out, done. But he stole, so there was a lawsuit. But that's where you take a couple of tropes someone else came with, you put them together, you put your own stank on it, and you have a whole new thing. I'm fine with that. I really, really am.
Yeah.
Because if every writer has to come up with something absolutely 100% new and original, no.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I don't know. There's something about it that bugs me.
And it's fine if it bugs you. I mean, that's
it just
totally
seems
fine.
like, nothing we're seeing, what's real and what's not. And
that's part of it.
I get that.
Yeah.
But there's something about it that bugs me. It's like, it's not, I don't know. It feels like cheating to me. It feels like, I don't know what to believe, but not in a good way. I don't know why. It just for something about it just.
I don't know what to believe, but in a good way.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Now we need to address
because going back to before you move on.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah. What were you going to move on to? The where Elliot's mom's house?
No, my favorite new character for season 2. But no, complete your thought.
Well, we find out where Elliot's mom's house actually is, because he goes to see Gloria Rubin. He goes to see his therapist,
right?
And they're talking back and forth. And there are a few episodes where like Angela comes to visit him at his mom's house, and they're sitting at the dining room table across from each other. And Darlene comes to visit him, and they're sitting across from each other at the dining room table. And he keeps going to his therapist's office, and she says, "You do know where you are, right?" And he says, it cuts to him, and he says, "Yeah." And then he cuts back to her, and she says, you do know where you are. And it cuts back to him, and it's a totally different background.
Bing!
Turns out he's not in his mom's house. The routine he has that's real, and everything he does is real.
Right.
But it turns out he's in prison. And he got busted. He picked up by the feds for? He got picked up by the feds for stealing that guy's dog and hacking into his therapist's.
Is that what it was?
Boyfriend. That's what it was. He pled guilty to it because Mr. Robot didn't want him to, and his lawyer didn't want him to.
Yeah, because if he was locked up,
Yep.
Then he could, get off drugs and get Mr. Robot to keep Mr. Robot from doing anything.
So we go back and we see him going to lunch with Leon, who is real, and his buddy, and
Leon loves Seinfeld.
He does love Seinfeld.
God. Have you heard about this thing?
Yeah. They go into long, in-depth discussions.
Yeah. For a while there, I always wondered if Leon was even real.
Well, that's my point.
And I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay, the problem, so all the stuff with Ray,
right?
What happened?
In what regard?
Did any of it happen? Did it all happen in his head? Did he really bust because Ray turns out to be the warden of the prison, and his goon turns out to be one of the prison guards. Did any of it happen?
Who knows?
Right, and that...
Who knows? Maybe prison is the hallucination. Who knows?
Right, and that bothers me.
I'm perfectly fine.
And normally that kind of thing I love. Normally that kind of thing I'm down with.
Right.
But for some reason it just bothers me.
Okay.
And you're going to move on to your new favorite character.
My new favorite character, played by an actress with literally the worst name in the history of names.
Second worst.
Oh, what's the first worst?
Imogen Poots.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and she's a good actress and very attractive.
Yes.
I loved her in what the hell is it? Roadies? Yeah, Roadies.
Yes.
Was it Roadies? Yeah, on Showtime.
Yep.
That show was a little too quaint and pat for my tastes, but
didn't see it.
But she's she's a good
right.
actress.
So moving on, we get to the second worst for a pretty girl named
Grace Gummer.
Yeah, terrible name.
God,
good actress.
Good actress. You know who she is, though.
No,
that's Meryl Streep's daughter.
I knew that's right. I knew she was somebody's daughter. I couldn't put my finger on it.
And hey, I don't know what the background of the whole thing is, but respect for having that name and not using the Streep name.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if where she fits into the picture with the Streep last name, or whether she ever had it or
probably not
changed it. Yeah, probably she has her father's last name.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love her.
She's great.
I love her.
She's really great.
And I remember
she's playing the FBI agent.
Right. I remember seeing her in some other stuff and going like, okay. And here she's gorgeous and she's acting like a mad woman.
Yeah.
She is knocking it out of the park.
Because she's like the gung ho FBI agent.
She's on to Angela.
She's on to Angela. She's like on to a lot of stuff, but she's also kind of fucked up.
Just a little
in a real way, she's lonely. She's she's just kind of fucked up in her own kind of way, which is what's good about this show.
Yeah, any character that seems, they have their shit together, just wait a few episodes. Something's going to happen where it goes nuts.
Yeah.
And she actually goes over to China.
She does go to China, and she gets to talk with what is his title?
The Minister of Information.
Right.
State Security, excuse me.
State Security, yes.
The Minister of State Security.
She accidentally walks looking for the bathroom. She walks into his room full of fucking clocks all over the place.
But what else does she find?
Well, he shows her his sister's wardrobe.
Yes, which is actually White Rose's
wardrobe, which is very interesting that he would show, because she even says, he showed me these beautiful gowns of his sister's, which is odd because he doesn't have a sister.
Yeah, and she knows that.
Yeah.
I don't know if she knew that at the time, but she knew that afterwards.
No, she said it that morning.
Did she? Okay.
Yeah, she says it that morning
she probably got briefed
at the interesting breakfast.
Yeah. So, and of course, after that, nothing but a little assassination hit on everybody.
On everybody, yep.
And she survives. And one of the person gets tagged, and he kills himself rather than be taken
in.
Exactly. Same thing that happened at the diner.
At the diner later, yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, we're not recapping every episode linearly with all the details. We're talking as if two people who have watched the series just chatting about it.
Yeah,
if you're listening to this, obviously, if you've listened this far, you definitely have seen the series, because you would have pieced out on this episode within 5 minutes going, I don't know what they're talking about because I've never seen the series. Mm-hmm. So there we go with that. Now, do you remember the season finale of the first season?
Yes.
Do you know why they had to delay that?
What do you mean?
Well, it was supposed to air on August 26th, and they aired it a week later.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, because of the Roanoke, Virginia murders.
Really?
Yes. The Roanoke, Virginia murders were two reporters, I believe it was a cameraman and a female reporter, were interviewing someone in city government in Roanoke. And a disgruntled, I think maybe 1 to 2 years previously, fired colleague of theirs from the television station stalked them, sought them out, and murdered them live on television.
Oh, wow.
And there were a bit too many parallels.
Because that happened in Mr. Robot.
That's right. And part of me went, I want it. And another part of me went, you know what? Respect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's television. These are these people's lives. If a token of respect can be shown by delaying it a week, I support that.
Yeah.
But that's that kind of sensitivity that can easily go overboard, where they digitally erase the Twin Towers or put them in, as the case may be, in certain films right around there, because so sensitive. And we were sensitive, don't get me wrong, but sometimes that can go a little overboard.
Yeah,
it's like, well, here's some songs we can't play now because of 9/11 for a while. And a couple of them were like, yeah, bodies hit the floor. Okay, I get that.
Right.
Let's take that off the air. But then some of these other ones are like, Steve Miller's Jet Airplane. I mean, okay,
that's political correctness going rampant.
Some people don't understand the difference between, a safe space and a trigger warning kind of situation.
Right.
A trigger warning basically says, hey, this contains things that if you have been through something similar might freak you out. So we're letting you know. We're doing it, but we're letting you know.
Yeah, and waiting 1 week is plenty of time.
That's fine. But I just had a lot of respect for USA for doing that.
Yeah.
And it made sense.
Right.
So now, where do you see Mr. Robot going?
Well, it turns out that Tyrell Wellick, as far as we know, is alive. Maybe. Kinda. That's the problem.
Yes.
Because Elliot's seeing him and talking to him and doing things with him.
Right.
And evidently is planning something even bigger when all the paper backups of all the servers that crashed.
Right, because remember, we've got the initial, we can't send out our mortgage bills and credit card bills right away, but that information is not
lost to
gone.
time. Yeah,
there's redundancy.
There's redundancies.
There's redundant on paper, and then there's redundant electronic.
And Evil Corp is gathering up all their paperwork, and there are trucks and trucks and trucks going to one building that are going to that are collating and filing and trying to get
they're reestablishing the database. And do you know why they're going to a central location? Because of another attack, and they're freaked out, so they're basically doing the work of fsociety for them by putting all the paper together in one place.
And Elliot / Mr. Robot / Elliot figure out that a way to basically using to hack into the UPC battery backups and basically blow the building up once all the paperwork is there, so that the actual debt is gone, like the last remnants of all the paperwork.
Right, because literally, the only thing that remains is whatever records the individual people kept.
Yes.
Now, if you're going to be honest and say, here's my latest mortgage statement before
this is
the
how much
hack,
I owe you.
here's how much I owe you, great. But if you're like, I don't know, I paid the bill, I threw that away. And what are you going to do?
Or, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings up, somewhat of an ethical question. If you owed $200,000 on a house and this hack happened, and there was no possible way for them to figure out what you owed,
do you tell them?
Because most homeowners, myself included, know what they owe on their house within about $1,000, depending on where they are, in their mortgage that particular month. So, would you? Part of me says, fuck the bank. But you know what? The thing is that mortgages are collateralized and used as, money generators for people's retirement funds. It's all interconnected.
Right.
So it's like,
but you're one of the few people who would know that, B, think that, or C, even care. Most people would say, "Hey, got a free house out of it." That's the going back to your assessment of society.
right. And that's so. We all got an education after 2008 when we found out, like, oh. So the reason I was able to get a mortgage so easy is because they would have given it to, a sentient toad if it could actually make a signature.
I had a buddy who worked in real estate around that time.
Yep.
And he said, he said, I could have given you a mortgage over the phone. He goes, it was that, Wild West, and that's what caused the whole thing.
Right. It caused it because they were putting it together with other people with, shall we say, less than stellar payment records, credit scores.
People making $30,000 a year,
but we're calling
$2 million houses.
Right, but we're calling it A+ paper. Mm-hmm. And then compounding upon that, they were taking out insurance policies with people like AIG. Mm-hmm. Was it debt collateral DTO? Is that what it is? Can't remember what it is. Debt collateral obligation insurance or whatever. Mm-hmm. So if this paper gets, if the default rate on this group of, let's say, 10,000 mortgages, if it reaches a certain point, then the insurance kicks in and you're covered. And AIG was selling that, but they were under collateralized. They didn't have the money. So that's the whole thing snowballed when they defaulted on the mortgage, and then AIG couldn't pay back the borrowers or the people that had the paper, and everything was like going straight down the tubes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Washington, because they caused. I mean, let's put it this way: they allowed it to happen with their, regulation is evil. Government can't do anything right. Like, yeah, except protect us from this kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen again under Trump. Watch it happen because he's looking to get rid of Dodd-Frank. He's getting, let's just get rid of these regulations and let business do what business does best.
Rip people off.
Yeah, make money and have no fucks to give about anything else.
Yeah,
that's it's like. Why do you think the stock market is up so greatly right now? Because business looks and goes, oh, wow, all these tree huggers and people that they're gone. We're going to fuck the environment. We're going to fuck the consumer.
And make
and that's why my retirement account is, it's almost doubled after Trump got. But you know what? I'd rather Trump not be president and have modest 8% returns every year.
Yeah.
So yes, it's all connected there.
So basically, the last and the end of the season, we see Elliot and Mr. Robot and Wellick in a place looking at that building, basically plotting what they're going to do next.
Right.
And Elliot keeps saying things like, he keeps questioning Wellick, and Wellick is baffled as to why he doesn't know what they're talking about, and because he keeps saying it's his plan. And Elliot decides, I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna kill the malware. I'm gonna make it so it doesn't do it.
Well, he becomes convinced that Tyrell isn't real.
Right. And Tyrell pulls a gun and says, "You're nowhere. Absolutely not. You're not going to, destroy our plans to finish this. Phase 2, they kept calling it," and pulls a gun on him. And Elliot says, "I don't think the gun's real. I don't think you're real. I don't think Mr. Robot's real. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it."
Huh, that seems like a scene that I have seen before somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm still fine with it.
Wellick shoots him. Or he doesn't.
Well, we already know
he's
Mr.
there,
Robot's
or he's not. I don't know.
Mr. Robot's been killing Elliot for, who knows how long, for how many times.
True.
So
one of the last scenes, evidently, now Angela is working with the Dark Army.
Yes.
And she's in contact with Wellick, and I guess he is real because he calls her and she says, "I need to be the first one to talk to Elliot when he wakes up." So again, I don't know what the hell's going on. Now, did you catch the little post-credits scene?
Yes. Trenton reveals to Mobley found a way to cancel the hack, or to reverse the hack.
Right. See, that kind of really bothers me.
That could be a red herring that is nixed in the first 5 seconds of season 3. Who knows?
Yeah.
And that's
because
the
if
thing.
they can just reverse it and fix it, that's some Simpson shit right there.
Mr. Robot keeps you on your toes. It's engaged watching. That is so important to me. Mr. Robot is not a show that I can work at my desk and watch.
No.
I have to sit and watch it. Black Mirror, sit and watch.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, sit and watch. As much as I hate not being able to multitask, that's the kind of television, films, storytelling, whatever, that I enjoy. I mean, I can get a chuckle out of Modern Family,
but you don't have to sit and pay attention.
Not at all.
You can just listen.
I'm working at my desk. I'm listening, watching, looking up, going, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
I may miss one or two little things here and there, and I'm okay with that. Not with Mr. Robot.
No.
Not with engaging television like that.
Yeah, you have to pay attention because stuff happens. Like Mr. Robot was blinking out of existence when Elliot was getting shot.
Well, I look at those shows like I consider foreign films. I refuse, unless it's Miyazaki's films done with him directing the voice cast. Foreign films, I don't do English overdubs.
No, not at all.
I listen to it in its original form, like anyone else would in the country it was produced in, and read the subtitles.
Yeah.
And you cannot watch a foreign film with subtitles and work at your desk.
No.
You can't do it.
Well,
you literally have to pay attention, and that's the way I consider Mr. Robot and other shows like that, because you lose so much. I mean, you could try watching Mr. Robot and kind of multitask. I can't. I just
No. You couldn't.
mean,
Well,
if
you
I'm
wouldn't
gonna-
get anything out of
If
it.
I'm going to devote 42 whatever minutes per episode, I don't want to have to go back and go, hold it, then why did that happen? What did I miss? No. So there's that. So season 3.
Season 3.
I
I don't know. Hard to tell. I mean, is it coming next year?
Yes.
2017?
Oh yeah. We're getting
Okay.
it. We're getting it. It's not. It's they're. Sam Esmail apparently isn't doing 10,000 other things. He's
Focused on that.
on his baby.
Good.
Which,
I mean,
well, sometimes you do well with something, and then you people
You get
offer you
busy,
more
yeah.
money, and they go, "Sure, I'll turn over the day to day." Then sometimes you're like, Matthew Weiner with Mad Men. It's like, oh no, this is my baby, and I'm taking my baby all the way home.
Yeah.
And with the singular vision, same thing with Sopranos.
Well, Joss Whedon did it too. I mean, when
he was allowed to.
Well, he was still running when he was doing Firefly. He was still running Buffy and Angel, and he was like bouncing back and forth.
Good Lord.
So, it can be done, but it's just what your preference is,
Right.
with that kind of stuff.
So as far as season 3, I just want to see more shit get fucked up.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm wondering if Sam Esmail has taken a cue from, or has even seen, Black Mirror, because there's stuff in there that could be that definitely, I'd say the viewing populace who have at least seen Black Mirror are aware of certain ways that technology interacts with your life or could in the future, and how that could be spun, that those kind of sentiments could be spun into Mr. Robot. Because at a certain point, it's like either the debt's erased or it's not. They can't stretch this out for another complete season 3.
No.
Unless they got some genius move that I can't see.
I couldn't see this going like 10 seasons either. I mean, I would see like 3, maybe 4.
The usual sweet spot is usually 3 to 5 for these type of things. Most of the new shows that have come out in the last year or two that have been popular, like with Westworld, and they always say we got about a 5 series plan.
Yeah.
And we may be able to pad or go somewhere, but we kind of know where we want to go, which is good. But that's also what they said about Lost. And I just got the feeling that the magic sorting hat from Hogwarts was like, we're going to go do this
it definitely
now.
was. Yeah.
And let's go ahead and do that now.
And the good thing is people learned from that. People learned, like, we got to figure out how to wrap this shit up right, or else we're going to get killed. You know?
Exactly. So, and don't build it up so much, because I knew going into the last half of the final season of Lost, there's no way, however this resolves, there's no possible way that I'm going to be sitting there gobsmacked going, this is amazing. Yeah, I never saw it coming.
It spiraled way out of control.
I mean, they had a couple of things like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Oh, nice. But at the end of it all, I was like, all right.
Yep.
Didn't love it. Didn't hate it like some people. It just is what it is, and the story is,
it was just disappointing.
Over-ish.
But anyway, I don't see that happening with this. I could see him pulling out, doing like one wrap-up season, and it would,
But it ain't going to be season 3.
You don't think so?
No.
You think
God, no. No.
Right.
No. Because if for no other reason, you got to get to that sweet, sweet syndication money. And you're not going to get there in 3 seasons.
Oh, so you're thinking 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what I know the threshold.
It's 88 now. It used to be 100.
100 for half an hour episodes, but it's 88 now for half hours. So we could say 44
maybe
episodes.
I don't even know. I didn't even think about that.
But some of these episodes are 70 minutes long. Some of them are 42 minutes long. Yeah. And that's one of the things I appreciate about Netflix and some of not the broadcast networks. They don't really do that very much. But the cable networks is, hey, if this episode needs to be a 90-minute episode, then it is.
I did notice that, like, a bunch of the Mr. Robot episodes were longer than others. There was some that were like an hour and 15, and some that were like 47.
Because the story demands it. Otherwise, you have to trim shit out, and then it just messes with the storytelling. Because you know me and the storytelling, the writing's number one.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, you can trim here and there if you absolutely have to, but you can't take a 25-minute chunk out to get it under to get your advertising time in.
You can, but it just makes your show
shitty. You can, and then it just see the director's cut episodes. Like, really, do we have to do director's cut episodes now too?
Yeah,
because of if only everyone wasn't bootlegging everything,
right?
Might not have to go for there. But my little tiny bit of information that I've heard about season 3. Now, you remember my second favorite character after can't remember what's the name of the FBI agent character. It's like Poss or Posh.
Pietro Doria or something.
Dominique DePiro.
Dom.
That's it. Dom. Yeah. Love me some Dom. Can't wait for more. I want to be dominated. I'm hilarious. Our good friend White Rose.
Yes.
I have a bit of information about White Rose.
Yes.
It turns out the rumor is that in season 3 we find out that White Rose is actually
medication time. Medication time.
We ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Benny Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exacerbated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the offices of Howard, and Fine. I'm just going to pull my hoodie up over my head and be off.
All right.
Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Shack Records and is a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Check us out on dadsgarageradio.net. Listen, watch on YouTube. Listen on SoundCloud, streams on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Michael Reed.
L-O-Z.
Audio Primate.